अच्छा फ्रेंड्स, सब्सक्राइब टू अवर चैनल एंड क्लिक द बेल आइकन फॉर द लेटेस्ट अपडेट। आज हम मैनेजर इकोनॉमिक्स की क्लास करने वाले हैं, जो कि क्लास नंबर 3 है। ऑलरेडी हम सेकेंड क्लासेस कर चुके हैं, जिसमें हमने यूनिट 1 कर लिया है, जिसमें 2 क्लासेस में हम यूनिट 1 पूरा कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं। एंड लास्टली अगर हम बात करते हैं तो यूनिट 1 में हमने फैक्टर्स इन्फ्लुएंसिंग डिमांड लास्ट टॉपिक किया था। उससे पहले नेचर ऑफ मैनेजर इकोनॉमिक्स, व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय द मैनेजर इकोनॉमिक्स, एंड that what we have to find it out, the advertisement expenses that we had done. And in unit 1 we had done approximately 37 to 38 questions in the last 2 classes, so you can go through with that we had done about more than 37-38 questions of a managerial economics of unit 1. So today we'll start with unit 2, which is your concept of supply and demand forecasting. Concept of supply and demand forecasting, this is the second unit, and this is the first class of unit 2, which is your concept of supply and demand forecasting. So first of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe our channel, so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. In terms of unit 2, that what we have to discuss here, which is your law of supply and factors affecting supply as well. Here we have to discuss the first question and the first topic as well, that is your explain the determinants of supply or factor affecting supply curve. So that's what we have to discuss about it, and that we will go ahead here, and in the same cases the factor affecting supply curve, that will go ahead to discuss about it, and the determinants of supply. So first, determinants of supply. In the determinants of supply here, the question is, so in the determinants of supply, that where the like demand supply is not determined by prices, and that the other determinants of the supply that are as to be follows, and where the first we have is the cost of production. The cost of production here, in this, that the higher the cost of production, the less profit will be made at any price, and at cost rise, firm will cut back on production, probably switching to alternative product, and whose cost have not risen so much as well. The main reason for the change in the cost that to be are follows, and that the first we have is change in input price. This is the first part of that the sub part we have, change in input price. So change in input price we have, so where we have the cost of input price here, and in the same cases that the cost of the production will rise if the wages, raw material price, rents, interest rates, or any other input price rises here. The second part for the first one we have is just change in technology. In change in technology, that the technological advances that can fundamentally alter the cost of production, and consider for example how the microchip revolution has changed production method of information that handling in a virtually every industry in the world as well. We'll talk about the third one, which is your organizational change. In organizational change here, in organizational change, that is your the various cost saving that can be made in many forms by recognizing the production as well, and the fourth is your government policy. In the terms of government policy, that cost will be lowered by government subsidies, and that raised by the various taxes as well. the E part of it, that the profitability of alternative product. So profitability of alternative products here, if some alternative products become more profitable to supply than before, so the producers are likely to switch from the first good to this alternative, and supply of the first good falls and other goods is likely to become more profitable if we'll talk about it. And in the same cases, their prices rises, their cost of productions falls as well. And for example, like a car companies typically make a several different car models in a same factory. If there is more demand for one model and its prices rises, so they will switch more on their assembly lines to making the model, and that the supply of the other models will be fall here. For the second one we have here, that is the second one, and that is, for the first we have is your the cost of the production, and the second we have is the profitability of goods in a joint supply. The profitability of goods in joint supply. In that here, that sometimes when one good is also produced at the same time, and these are said to be goods in joint supplies. An example is refining of crude oil to produce petrol and other grade fuel that will be produced as well, such as diesels and paraffin. And if more petrol is produced due to a rise in demand, then the supply of these other fuels will rise too. The third we have is the nature and random shocks and other unpredictable events. Nature, random shocks, and other unpredictable events. So in this category we would include the weather and the diseases that affecting from farm output, wars affecting the supply of the imported raw material, and that is the breakdown of the machinery and industrial disputes, earthquake, flood and fire, etc. We'll talk about the fourth one, which is the aim of producer. So the aim of the producers here, that a profit maximizing firm will supply a different quantity from a firm that has a different aim, such as maximizing sale here. The next we have is the fifth one, which is your expectation of future price change. In this, that expectation of future price change here, that if price is expected to rise and producers may temporarily reduce the amount they sell, and instead they are likely to build up their stocks and only release them onto the market, and when the price just rises, and at the same time they may plan to produce more by installing new machines or taking on more labor, so that they can ready to supply more when the price has risen as well. Now we'll go ahead with other question that has been asked here, which is explain the shifts in supply. So explain shifts in supply, that is also important here. Supply changes when any influences other than the commodity owns price changes. In terms of supply curve, the supply increases when amount supplied increases and supply decreases when amount supplied decreases. If the cost of the resources falls, the suppliers are able to sell larger quantity. Then supply curve shifts to the right and at the price P with the original supply curve S, the supply quantity is Q, and if the curve moves to S1 supply quantity at a price P is Q1, if the curve moves to S2 supply quantity Q2. So that is has been represented here with the same cases that has been represented by that line, and that will be showing the shift of the supply curve if it will move or decrease or increase here in the shift of supply curve as well. Now we'll go ahead with other question, and that is the elasticity of supply. So the question has been asked that describe briefly elasticity of supply. So let's go ahead. So here in the elasticity of supply here, that is, has been asked describe briefly elasticity of supply. Elasticity of supply is a responsiveness of producer to change in the price of their goods or services. As a general rule, if the prices rises, so does the supply. Elasticity of the supply is measured as the ratio of proportion change in the quantity supplied to the proportionate change in prices, and high elasticity indicates the supply is sensitive to change in prices, and low elasticity indicate a little sensitivity to price changes, and no elasticity means no relationship that with prices, and that is also called price elasticity of supply. And it can be calculated as per the following formula here that we have. Supply elasticity equals to percentage change in quantity supplied upon percentage change in price. So here that the calculation of elasticity of supply is comparable to the calculation of elasticity of demand, except that the quantity used to refer to quantity supplied instead of quantity demanded. Factors that influence the elasticity of the supply that include the ability to switch to production of other good, and the ability to go out of the business, and the ability to use the other resources input, and the amount of the time available to respond to a prices change as well. Over a short period, the firms may be able to increase output only slightly in response to an increase in prices, and over a longer period of time, the level of the production that can adjust it greatly as production process that can be altered, and additional workers that can be hired, more plants that can be built, etc. Therefore, the elasticity of supply is expected to be a greater with longer period of time as well. In the same case, we can say that we would expect the supply elasticity of wheat that to be very high, as farmers that can easily switch land that is used for the wheat over the other crops such as corn or soybean. Like on the other hand, an oil refinery cannot easily switch its production capacity over to the another product, so low oil refining margins do not reduces the quantity supplied by very much. Due to the high capital cost, higher refining margins do not necessarily induce much greater supply. So the supply elasticity for oil refining is fairly low here. Now we'll go ahead with other question, that is for the demand forecasting. And the question has been arises, what do you mean by demand forecasting? Give the definitions of demand forecasting. So let's go ahead here. In the term of demand forecasting here, the forecast is a prediction about a future event which is likely to happen in any given situation. In the world, uncertainties forecasting has a great significance. Every firm try to forecast likely demand for their product Predictions of the future demand for the product is called as demand forecasting here. In the same case, a demand forecasting is an important management function because the huge resources are involved in the production process as well. We'll talk about further definition as they had asked you here. In this, that the definitions of the demand forecasting we have, according to the American Marketing Association, demand forecasting is an estimate of sales in dollars or physical unit for a specified future period under a proposed marketing plan. And the other definition of demand forecasting we have, the demand forecasting is the tool to scientifically predict the likely demand of the product in the future. That sales forecast and focus of integrative planning, which is said by William Laser. And the other definition has been said by Philip Kotler, that is the company sales forecast is expected level of company sale based on the chosen marketing plan and assumed environment condition as well. Now the other question has been arise is that how demand forecasting horizon are classified. So demand forecasting horizon. So demand forecasting that we have horizons here. Depending upon the duration of forecast, it categorized into the two types. The first we have is your short-term forecast, which is short-term forecast, and that is up to 1 year. The second we have is your long-term forecast, which is up to 2 to 5 years. Now the other question has been arise to explain the purpose of short-term forecast. Purpose of short-term forecast. So the purpose of short-term forecast here, that the first is your production policy. In production policy, that the production policy is defined to determine to avoid underproduction or that overproduction. The second is your price policy. In price policy, that the short-term demand forecasting plays an important role in price policy. The third we have is your cost effectiveness. In the cost effectiveness, that the cost effectiveness can be observed and implemented by a demand forecasting. The fourth and the last we have is the distribution channel. In the distribution channel here, that is that the distribution channel can be arranged in anticipation of future demand if the forecast of the demand are available. Now we'll go ahead with other question, that what we have to discuss is what factors are involved in demand forecasting. So factors involved in demand forecasting. So in this, that the factors involved in demand forecasting we have, the first is your time period. The second is your 3 levels of forecasting. Where first we have is your macro level. The second we have industry level, which is your trade association example, and the third we have your firm level. Now the third we have is your scope of forecasting. The fourth we have is your methods of forecasting. fifth we have is a risk associated. The sixth we have is the nature of competition. These were the factors that are involved in demand forecasting. Now we'll go ahead with other one, and that what we have to discuss here, which is another question that has been asked 15 marks in 15 and 16. So what is demand forecasting, which we had discussed, and how knowledge of demand forecasting is helpful for producers, that even though we had discussed in the last second topic we had discussed here. Now the other question has been arise that we'll discuss in the terms of it, which is your methods and technique of demand forecasting. In the methods and technique of demand forecasting, that what do you mean by demand forecasting, and briefly explain the significance and the various methods of demand forecasting. This has been asked for 10 marks here. So first we'll discuss about the demand forecasting, as we had discussed many times here. Then we'll discuss the methods used for the demand forecasting here. Demand forecasting, in this, that the predictions of future demand for a product is known as demand forecasting. Now we'll discuss some of the important methods of demand forecasting here. The methods of a demand forecasting that will deal with it here, and that is in the same cases, that the survey of the buyer's intentions, Delphi method, expert opinion, collective opinion, and Naves models as well. So this we'll discuss one by one. The first we'll discuss the surveys of the buyer's intention. The surveys of buyer's intention here, that the customer are directly contacted to find out their intentions to buy the commodity in the near future, and where intentions recorded through the personal interviews, email or the post services, telephone interviewers, and the questionnaires as well. That is the survey of the buyer's intention. The second we'll be having is your Delphi method. In the Delphi method, that the Delphi method consists of an effort to arrive at the consensus in an uncertain area by questioning a group here that experts repeatedly until the results appear to converge along a single line of the issue that causing a disagreement, and that are clearly defined here. Now we'll talk about the third one, which is your expert opinion or a hunch method. Expert opinion or hunch method. With this, that the expert opinion means to ask experts in the field that to provide the estimates, for example the dealers, industry analysts, specialist marketing and consultants, etc., that comes under in it. Now we'll talk about the fourth one here. with the same cases, the next we have here is the fourth one, which is your collective opinion method, a sales force opinion here, which is your the fourth one, collective opinion method or sales force opinion. So here the salesmen are required to estimate the expected sales in their respective territories and sections as well. We'll talk about the fifth one, which is your Nave model. In the Nave models here, that Nave forecasting model are based exclusively on a historical observation of sales or other variables such as earning, cash flows and etc. as well. In the same case, now we'll go ahead with the further one, and that what we have to discuss as well, which is to brief any two methods of demand forecasting. So we'll discuss about brief any two methods here, but in the brief methods that we'll discussing here, we'll discuss about as well as references towards each and every one, and in the same case we'll discuss about the merits and of course the demerits as well. So let's go ahead, the two methods of demand forecasting which we'll discuss here in the detail. Two methods of demand forecasting. So with this, there are the two important approaches for the demand forecasting method that are employed, and the survey method, that this approach depends upon the market research, survey, etc. The consumers are interviewed for their feel and intentions. This approach consists of the following method, and totally the method which we have is we have your five method, which is buyer, interviewers, buyers, interview, and surveys of buyers, intention. The second is your sales force polling. The third we have is your consumer field survey. The fourth is your experts' opinion. And the fifth we have is a forecast based on composite management opinion. Now we'll discuss in a detail about it. We'll first discuss about expert here, and that is expert opinion. That will discuss the expert opinion method. There are five methods that of demand forecasting, but we'll have to discuss the two that has been mentioned in the question of 10 marks. So we'll discuss first expert opinion method. Here, that this method for the forecasting demand is essentially based on the opinion of experts, either internal or external of the firm. Delphi technique, originally developed by the Rand Corporation at the beginning of the Cold War to forecast the impact of technology on welfare. This technique is considered to be a superior to conventional brainstorming sessions, as the latter may be dominated by the views of some of the experts, and the Delphi is a way of getting the opinion of experts without their face-to-face interaction as well. Now I'll talk about the merits of this expert opinion method. So in the merits that we have, that the first merit we have, that is the decisions are enriched with the experience of competent experts. The second merits we have, that the firm need not spend time and resources in the collections of data by the surveys. And the third merit we have is that very useful when the product is absolutely new to all the market here. The demerits we have the demerits of the opinion method. There are two demerits here, that is this technique relies more on the experience of expert than on available data and may thus involve some amount of bias. And the second demerits we have that in the case of the external expert that are invited for opinion, the firm may be exposed to the risk of loss of confidential information to the rival firm as well. Now we'll talk about the second one. The second method we'll discuss about it, which is your consumer field, the opinion method here. Consumers opinion method. In the consumer's opinion method here, that is in the consumer's opinion survey, buyers are asked about their future buying intentions of product, and a survey that can be conducted in the two ways, which is the first we have is your census method. In this, that the first is your census method here, that involves containing each and every buyers, but it is very time taking and costly and is often not desirable. The second we have is your sample method. In the sample method, that involves a survey of only representative samples of buyers. Sampling reduces the cost of the survey without affecting the validity of the data, and however that care should be taken that the sample is representative of the universe as well. Here we'll talk about the merits as well as the demerits of the consumer opinion methods here. So we have here is to be as follows, that is your merits. The merits we have, the first merit we have that simple to administer and comprehend. The second merit we have that is that the results obtained are realistic as they are based on the direct opinion of buyers. And the third merit we have that suitable for short-term decision regarding the product and the promotions as well. We'll talk about the second one, which is your demerits. In the demerits of consumer opinion method, that surveying is often an expensive proportion both in the terms of resource and time. This method is unsuitable for long-term forecasting as demand determinants like consumers' tastes, preferences and fashions are likely to change as long run. The third demerit, that the buyers may often divulge their real buying intentions and may even give incorrect responses. The fourth demerit we have that the investigators bias regarding choice of sample, and that is your questions cannot be fully eliminated. And the fifth demerit of the consumer's opinion method we have that the accuracy of the survey results would be to a large extent contingent upon the quality of the questionnaire and the expertise of the interviewer as well. We'll talk about the statistical method, that is the another one. In this statistical method, that the statistical method is another tool for getting an insight into this feature, and this type of a demand forecasting method is most suitable for the long-term forecast, and that the method that noted under the projected past experience that are to be follows here, which is your we have statistical method. So here, that is the noted method we have is your correlation analysis. So here we have correlation analysis. The second we have regression analysis. In the regression analysis, we have first simple, which is your bivariate. The second we have is your non-linear regression. The third we have is your projection of trends into future. Let's go ahead with other one, that is another question, and that is explain consumer survey and end use method here. That will discussed as well, and that is the consumer survey and end use, that method that has been asked of 16 17 of 10 marks here, that will discussed here. So here we have, that is your the another we have is your consumer survey, and end use method. The consumer survey and end use method, that will talk about it here in a detail, which has been asked of 10 marks. So the consumer survey method is one of the technique of demand forecasting that involves a direct interview of the potential consumer here. That is so in this, that the goods and services that are made available in the market for the consumers, so who better them that can understand the demand for the product, and that is what this method is all about. And the consumer survey method, that includes the further three methods that can be used to interview the consumer. The first we have is method of total enumeration. In method of total enumeration here, that when the demand is forecasted on the basis of the possible quantities that all the consumers would purchase in the period of forecast, then it is called the total enumeration method here, where in this case, in this method, that the consumer are questioned about their future purchase amount of product, and responses of all of them that are taken into the consideration by the forecaster, where this method is the most straightforward one, because the forecaster simply sum up the possible demand of all the consumer to arrive at the future demand, and the demand forecast through this method is likely to be more exact, because it is simply recording the data and arriving at the forecast, and is free from bias. But if the number of the consumers are too many, then this method would not be viable as well. This method consumes a lot of time and is dearer, and also care needs to be taken while recording the data, as any error here would impact the final conclusion as well. We'll talk about the second one, which is the survey through sample method. So survey through sample method here, where the sample survey method is often used, and when the target population under study is large and only the sample of potential consumer is selected for the interview. With the same cases, a sample of consumer is selected through a sampling method, and here the method of survey may be a direct interview or a mailed questionnaires to the selected sample consumers as well. In this method, the consumers may be asked questions and that pertaining to various factors that would impact the demand for the product, and these factors would be determinants of the demand, like the income of the consumers and prices of related product, price of the commodity itself, and so on. The third we have end use method. In the end use method here, which is that the end-use method is mainly used to forecast the demand for inputs. This method of demand forecasting has a considerable theoretical and a practical value. Under this method, a forecaster builds the schedules of probable aggregate future demand for the input by consuming the industries and the several other sectors. In this method, during the estimation of the demand, the changes in technological, structural, and the other factor that influence the demand is taken into the consideration. The end-use method helps in determining the future demand for an industrial product in detail by type and size, and also with the help of the end-use method here, with the same cases that the forecaster that can pinpoint or trace any time here, and that in the same case a time in the future as to where, why, and how the actual consumption has been deviated from the estimated demand as well. In the same case, one of the distinguishing features of this kind of survey is that it provides forecast sector-wise, and because the forecaster gets an idea of demand for the product through various uses, since it is carried out by considering the multiple uses of the product as well. The major drawback of this method lies in the requisite of the accurate production plan for the coming times by the firms as well. Now we'll go ahead with other question that has been asked is, what is the purpose of demand forecasting? Describe the uses and the limitations of opinion poll method of demand forecasting, which we had discussed in the last classes here. In this class only we had discussed these questions, so this has been asked of 10 marks, so that I had informed you about it. Now the other question is that what is a Delphi method? What is Delphi method? That has been asked of 2 marks in 17 and 18 as well. So in the Delphi method we had talked about in detail, and now we'll go ahead with the detail as well. The Delphi method consists of an effort to arrive at a consensus in an uncertain area by questioning a group of experts repeatedly until the results appear to converge along a single line of the issue that causing the disagreement are clearly defined. The Delphi method is a forecasting method that is based on the results of questionnaires sent to a panel of experts, and several rounds of questionnaires are sent out, and anonymous responses are aggregated and shared with the group after each round as well. The experts are allowed to adjust their answer in a subsequent round, since the multiple rounds of the questions are asked and the panel is told what the group thinks as a whole, and the Delphi method seeks to reach the correct responses through the consensus as well. In the same case, the Delphi method allows experts to work towards a mutual agreement by conducting a circulating series of questionnaires and releasing the related feedback to the further decision with each subsequent round. The expert responses shift as rounds are completed based on the information brought forth by the other expert pertaining in the analysis as well. Now we'll discuss about some of the criteria for good demand forecasting. The question has been arise, state the criteria of the good forecasting method. Criteria of a good forecasting method. So in this, that a good criteria we have here, the first we have is the accuracy measured. The second we have simplicity and ease of comprehension. The third we have is your economy. The fourth we have is availability. The fifth we have durability. And maintenance of timelines. Now we'll talk about the other question that we have. that is demand forecasting for a new product that we'll discuss here. The question is explain the various method used for demand forecasting of a new product, and that has been asked in 17, 18 of 10 marks. So that will go ahead with the detailed about it. So with the same the heading we will be having as your various methods used for demand forecasting of a new product. So in this, that the demand forecasting is the scientific tool to predict the likely demand of the product in the future, and where it is a starting point of fulfilling a customer's orders, and based on the forecasted demand, and a firm commits its resources, capacities and capabilities for a period of time to create a goods and services that its customer value and are willing to pay for. Hence, according to the American Marketing Association, the demand forecasting is an estimate of sales in dollars or physical units for the specified future period under a proposed marketing plan as well. Where the demand of the new product that can be forecasted by any one of the following technique. The first we have is the substitute approach. In substitute approach here, that it is based on the assumptions that a new product will be analyzed as a substitute of an existing product. In this method, that the demand of the substitute product is analyzed, and on the basis of such analysis or survey, forecasts are made for the new product to be introduced in the market. The second we have is your evolutionary approach. In evolutionary approach, this method of sale forecasting is based on the assumption that the new product will be considered an improvement over the existing product, where it is further assumed that the new product that can follow some life cycles as of existing product, and the sales of existing product are analyzed, and efforts are made to forecast the sales of the new product of the enterprise on this basis. The third we have is the buyer's or consumer view. So in buyers and consumers view here, in this method, that the potential buyers of the product are contacted, and efforts are made to know their opinion regarding the new product, and efforts are also made to guess the quantity to be purchased by these consumers. Sales forecasts of the new product are based on these opinion and estimates as well. The fourth we have is your vicarious approach or expert's opinion. In this approach of sales forecasting of new product is based on the opinion of experts in the field of marketing, who know the needs, desire, taste and the preferences of customers, and experts are contacted, and their opinion are collected regarding the utilities and the possible demand of the product. Sale forecasts are prepared on the basis of the opinion of these experts as well. The fifth we have is your sales experience approach or a market test method. Sales experience approach, or we can say that, or market test method. So in this, that is that in this method, the new product is offered for sale in a sample market for a fixed period, and that the result of the sales of the product are considered to be the base for the forecasting of the demand for the new product as well. And this results of the sales of the product in these segments are collected and deeply analyzed as well. The next and the last we have is your opinion poll approach. Opinion poll approach here. Under this method, the demand for the new product is estimated on the basis of information collected from the direct interview survey with consumers as well. Now we'll go ahead with the short questions, that is your what is meant by elasticity of supply and how it is measured. As I told you about it, that that this is only one type of identifiability elasticity of that is of supply, that measuring the responsiveness of the market supply to change in the price of the product. The elasticity of the supply is measured by using the formula, like that is the percentage change in the quantity supplied and the percentage change in price as well. The other question in the 2 marks, that is possible question that can be asked is your what is demand forecasting. So in that demand forecasting, the prediction of future demand for the product is known as demand forecasting here. Now we'll go ahead with other question, that is what is the necessity of the demand forecasting. So the necessity of the demand forecasting, if I'm talking about, so there are 7 necessities. The necessities of the demand forecasting: the first, we have to achieve the planned objectives. Second is to preparing a budget. Then third is stabilization of production and employment, and the fourth is the future expansion. The fifth is the long-term investment program. Sixth is the sales budgeting, and seventh is inventory control. Then we have a next question, that is state the features of demand forecasting. That the features of the demand forecasting are to be as follows, which we have is it is in the terms of the specific quantities. It is undertaken as an uncertain atmosphere. It is based on historical information and the past data, and it tells us only the approximate demand for the product in the future. Now we'll go ahead with other one, that what we have to discuss is the list this purpose of a long-term forecast here. So the purpose of the long-term forecast that we'll discuss. So the purpose of long-term forecast that we'll discuss, that we have, the first we have is your future expansion. Second is your raising capital. The third we have is your manpower planning. So that these were the 3 purpose of long-term facility that forecast here. So now we'll end up here, as we had completed unit 1 and unit 2 in this class. So this is a long class as well, not that much, but it will we had completed the unit 3rd here. So you can we can start with the another classes, that is your unit class 4, which will discuss unit 3rd, where that is your cost analysis. And in these classes which we had done here, that what we had done is we had done unit 1 and we had completed unit 2, and now we'll further discuss about unit 3rd as well. So it includes 5 unit. That the subject is your managerial economics, as I told you many times. In unit 1 we had covered up the introduction of engineering economics and demand analysis, where we had covered up the meaning and the nature of economics, the relation between science, engineering, technology and economics, and meaning of the demand, determinants of demand, shifts in demand, laws of demand, price elasticity of demand and the types, income elasticity, cross price elasticity, determinants of elasticity, uses of importance of elasticity as well. In unit 2 we had covered up the concept of supply, which is your line supply, a line of law of supply, factors affecting supply, elasticity of supply. In the demand forecasting we had done introduction, meaning and forecasting method or technique of the demand forecasting, criteria for the good demand forecasting and the demand forecasting for a new product as well, that what we had covered up. In unit 3rd, in the next coming class, which we have to do it, and that is your the cost analysis, where we have to cover up, that is introduction, the types of the cost output relationship, cost function, cost output relationship in the short run, and the cost output relationship in the long term, and short run and long run, break even analysis, production function, laws of variable proportions, laws of return, economic of scale, internal and external. That what we have to cover up in the next coming class. In unit 4, we have to cover up the market structure, which is your market structure, perfect competition and imperfect competition, monopolistic, oligopolist here, and the duopoly, and of course duopoly, solvent features of the price determination and the various market condition as well. In unit 5, we have to cover up the nature and the characteristics of the Indian economy, concept of LPG, elementary concept of national income, inflations of business cycle, concept of NI and measurement, meaning of inflation, types and causes, phases of business cycle, investment decision for the boosting economy, national income and per capita income, and that what we had covered up here. So here we'll end up with this, and first of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe our channel, so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. As we are doing managerial economics, database management system, reasoning, where we had covered up the verbal reasoning, where that is has been divided into two, which is your verbal reasoning, and that has been divided general mental ability and logic reasoning. Now we're going ahead with the non-verbal reasoning, that is we are doing the first topic, that is series, and that is of course we'll deal with more than 1000 question here. Other than that, we are dealing with computer graphics, as well as we'll start with quantitative aptitude as well, and that is also an important one. So let's go ahead, and thank you. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and give a suggestion on the comment box. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.